It is time for another Falls Friday night here, the week six edition of Falls Friday Night. I'm Jonathan Hull, sports writer for Times Record News. Excuse my voice and everything else about me right now. I have been hacking up. You don't want to know. You don't want to know for the last few days. But joining me alongside, right there in the middle, 940 game days, Nolan Clark, Zach Duncan to the right of Red River Roundup, and man, guys, a lighter Friday night than what we're used to because of so many open dates and such. But yeah, Zach, you were at the at Memorial Stadium watching Paladuro Memorial, and man, Paladuro Paladuro made a statement. Just what
Yeah,
right off, just your quick thoughts there.
yeah. I talked to their coach afterwards, and he's all about like, hey, we could lose the next game. They're looking at one game at a time. But I think everyone in district is like, wow, 48-6, four touchdown passes in the first half, ran the ball better in the second half. Memorial, I forgot what the yardage was, but I mean, definitely outgained. Almost 500 yards total offense for Paladuro. Memorial just couldn't get in sync. There are a couple times you felt like they scored midway through the second quarter, but then Paladuro answered before the half, and then Paladuro just kind of dictated the second half. So just a big statement win for Amarillo Paladuro tonight. I don't know if they're for sure guaranteed the favorite, but I think you can kind of label them favorite status. I think they're playing Wiley next week. Their coach said they've never beaten Wiley as a program, so another big game, I guess, next week. But a very big win probably makes the drive back to Amarillo a little quicker when you win like they did tonight.
Meanwhile, Nolan Clark was out in Petrolia watching them pull away there in the second half against Electra. Just Nolan, what'd you see in that game?
Yeah, it was honestly started off as a really good defensive slugfest. It was 12-8 in favor of Petrolia going into halftime, and one of Petrolia's touchdowns was a blocked punt scooped up and returned. So I was really impressed with how Electra came in and was able to stifle Petrolia's rushing attack that we've seen all year. But like you said, second half came around, and Petrolia was just finally able to wear them down, bust out some big runs, and it was ultimately just too much for Electra in the end, winning 36-14 tonight.
Now we jokingly put the number of passes in that game at 6.5. I took the under. You're pretty sure it went over though.
I'm pretty positive, especially since the very first play of the
Okay.
game was a pass attempt. But I know Electra passed it twice off the top of my head, and Petrolia had to have had at least five. So I'm pretty confident that that was over 6.5 pass attempts for the game.
And man, my prize picks did not come through on that one. I'll tell you. So, well, disappointment there. I'll have to chalk that up to the loss column. Well, real quick, let me run down and let's get our sponsors thanked here real quick. Main sponsor of this podcast is Arrowhead Roofing. More than 25 years, Arrowhead Roofing's been Texoma's trusted name for roofing, siding, gutters, and more. Local families count on Arrowhead to protect what matters most, their homes. When storms hit or it's time for an upgrade, call the team Texoma has relied on since 1999. Arrowhead Roofing, the exterior experts. And Macaulay Landscapes. For 21 years, Macaulay Landscapes has been keeping Wichita Falls beautiful, whether it's keeping your yard green and healthy or transforming your outdoor spaces. Macaulay Landscapes has the experience and care you can count on. Visit MacaulayLandscapes.com for their to learn about their full range of services. Macaulay Landscapes, making Wichita Falls look its best since 2003. Of course, they are our sponsor for the Coaches Hotline, and we're going to have a special guest joining us real quick on that Coaches Hotline here in a moment. Um, but I stayed home tonight. If you can't tell, my voice as I hear myself squeaking and among other things as I speak. I stayed home. I kind of watched a bunch of different live streams, and one of those was the Paradise Bowie game where I saw Paradise kind of really I thought turn it on in the second half and finally put Bowie away. Bowie kind of made a little bit of something out of it after going down early, 15-0. Came back and it was. I mean, they put 9 points on up in that second quarter and kind of made something of the game a little bit. They were down 23-9 at the half, and Paradise pulls away. looking like one of the top teams in the region again, looking like a team that's hey, we know what they did last year. That district, of course, we talk a lot about that district. Vernon goes to Ponder and gets just a big win, a dominant showing by them. And then Peaster's defense has been really good all year long, and they take care of Iowa Park. Just guys, your thoughts on that district, real quick.
So I had someone tell me that they thought, Ponder was all right, but like they said Ponder hasn't played anyone like Vernon. Um, and Vernon had a really tough non-district schedule, and then opened with Paradise, and then Ponder did not play as quite of a hard as a schedule, and I think that really showed tonight. Vernon, obviously, great defense, great run game, that travels well. I believe they were up. I think they scored the first 42 points in that game. I think it ended up being 42-13, but a very impressive win by Vernon. What they do is that they play hard, and a very good win there.
Yeah, I agree with Zach. Didn't do the best job watching scores throughout the night as I was kind of busy out in my game. But yeah, that was definitely an eye opener to see how Vernon bounced back after a game they felt like they should have won last week. But to ruin Ponder's unbeaten record like that, that's definitely a statement made in that district.
Well, why don't we get it firsthand? Why don't we find out from the guy in charge of it, bringing in right now, Coach Tommy Cook, coming on to join us here on the Macaulay Landscapes Coaches Hotline. Coach, let me get you in the big screen there. Coach, appreciate you taking the time and congrats on the win tonight. Yeah, I mean, I kind of broke it down. Like I said, I watched you guys on the live stream. Just how did you feel that game played out for you guys tonight, and what allowed you to pull away there in the second half?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. You guys do a great job. It was a hard fought game, and we knew that coming in. We knew Bowie's a really well coached team, and they're tough kids. So every year we play them, we know we're going to get their best. I actually thought we had a chance to break open the game early. We went up 15-0, and then we scored again, but had a holding call that brought back a touchdown, and that turned into a field goal attempt, which got blocked, and that kind of gave Bowie a little bit of juice. And credit to them, their kids didn't quit. They played really hard. So that was kind of how it slowed us down in the first half. And then I think our coaching staff did a really good job at halftime, just making a few adjustments. And they struggled to move the ball at all in the second half. And then we were able to be a little bit more explosive offensively.
Well, Coach, we look at your district, man. We knew that district was going to be tough coming into this year. It's better. I think it's better than any of us could have imagined. And we've talked to some of the other guys we've had Coach Price on this from Bowie, for example, and talked about how much more difficult that district seems. Just as you lined up and you started off with Vernon last week. What is this district like? I mean, it feels like a gauntlet right now that you guys got to get through just to get to the playoffs.
It is. Last year was really good, and obviously people saw that in the playoffs, how far everybody went. But this year it's better. You have a lot of senior-led football teams, and so I think it's kind of come to this point where each week you're going to have a heck of a challenge. Obviously, we opened up with Vernon, and man, they're a good football team. They just do a lot of things really well, and so we knew that was going to be a dogfight. But week in, week out, there's no bye weeks, there's no weeks off, and I think regardless of how things fall in our district play, there's going to be multiple teams that are really going to be hopeful to make deep playoff runs.
Coach, this is your first year as the head coach at Paradise. Obviously, you were on staff last year as the coordinator. What's it been like for you to take over for your dad and just kind of be the face of that program? I know you're obviously very involved these last few years, but what's it been like being the head coach now at Paradise this year?
I love it. I think I'm extremely blessed for a variety of reasons. Obviously, my dad did just like an excellent job in every way. He was such a good leader for the program, and we're really fortunate to have him on staff. So he's still coaching at Paradise. So he did just a great job in every aspect. And also our coaching staff has been around for a long time. So not just good football coaches, but good men of God who really care about the kids. So to be a leader of this group of men, I'm very blessed. And the kids at Paradise, like if I'm going to brag on them, we have good football players, but you also just have like really high quality families and good kids. So it's an awesome place to work, but also like just a great place to raise a family. My kids go here, and it's a blessing.
Did you have to talk your dad into sticking around, or was he like, "Hey, I'll just step aside and help out a little bit"? I mean, how was that transition? I guess like.
No, there was no sales pitch. He doesn't golf, he doesn't hunt, he doesn't fish. All he does is football. So that was about the easiest. Hey, we good to go? Yep. All right, let's keep rolling. That was about it.
Yeah, Coach, congratulations on the 2-0 start in district. I saw y'all last week. I saw it across y'all shirts, and obviously it's on your hat right there where it says tough. Can you kind of explain that motto and tough for your team?
Yeah, so the full saying is tough like Jesus, and that's one heck of a standard to try and live up to. But we do our best, obviously, to win football games. But we Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, we have some form of discipleship with our kids where we tell them all the time, like, look, at some point, high school football is going to end, and you're going to go on and hopefully be a really good dad, really good father, really good member of your community. So toughness on the football field, you can't win without it. And we pride ourselves on that. But most importantly, trying to lead these kids to Jesus and hopefully be godly examples for them.
Yes, sir. And looking ahead next week, y'all are going to be on the road at Owl Park. That's a team that started the year 3-0. They're coming off a bye week. They fell to Peaster tonight. What's your initial thoughts on that matchup next Friday night?
Well, we can't exhale. It's going to be another tough battle. We got to go on the road, so we got a long drive ahead of us. They are big and physical. Obviously, I haven't seen any of the film versus their game versus Peace tonight, but just a little bit I've watched so far. They can run the football. They have a couple explosive receivers on the outside, and defensively they're sound and play well. So we got to be locked in, and we got to play good football again.
Coach, I love that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Zach.
Say, y'all had that special run to the state semis last year. I don't think y'all really snuck up on people, but you had one of those magical type runs, deepest in school history. Now you have to follow that up, I guess. Is that something y'all? I mean, obviously it's just 1 week at a time, one game at a time. But have y'all felt something like different? Like I don't know if it's pressure really, but just something different. Kind of y'all are more targeted. I feel like this year.
Yeah, you're exactly correct. Just like my tenure at Paradise, it's been really fun, but you've kind of seen the evolution of winning, where if you go back 4 or 5 years ago, not many people could tell you where Paradise was or could tell you anything about them. And so we did sneak up on people and won a lot of football games we probably shouldn't have won. But then probably 3 years ago, I think we just started getting people's attention a lot more. So we knew we were going to get their best effort. Last year, as you mentioned, best in school history, had a good opportunity to go to AT&T, but fell short to Malakoff. And we said all offseason, hey, everyone is going to circle us on the schedule. We're getting nobody's second best. We will get everyone's trick play. We'll get their onside kick. We will get their full focus and attention. And honestly, that can be like, especially for high school kids, that can be really demanding. Like emotionally, you have to show up every Monday at practice and be locked in. So it's a challenge. We're hoping it's a really long football season. Obviously, you got to be healthy and fortunate and all that stuff. But it's a challenge week in, week out. Now we're obviously excited to have that challenge, have that opportunity. But we know this week, like versus Iowa Park coming up, that we're going to get their best effort and we got to play good ball.
When I look at that classification, it feels very wide open. Like as far as who could take that one and win it all. I know we're looking way down the line here for you guys. You got a tough district to get through, but how much of that do you pay attention to? I mean, and how would you break down, I guess, your class? Because I mean, you guys are right there at the top, right? I mean, you are in that conversation when we start talking about state title contenders.
And you're talking all of 3A or just in the region?
Yeah, all of 3A D1, yes, sir.
Yeah, so as a coach, there is a balancing act where you obviously have to give your full attention to the opponent at hand. But then you also have like some of your assistant coaches kind of doing some behind the scenes stuff for, 2-3 weeks down the road or potential playoff opponents. So you do have some of that in the preparation process. Obviously, we don't know exactly who we're going to play, if we make the playoffs and all of that. I actually usually have to stop myself because it'll be like, I'll be trying to think 2-3 weeks ahead, and you're thinking of the next play you can run or scheme you can have. So I always give myself a little bit of cutoff and say, hey, at this point of the week, no more. Make sure you're dialed in for Friday night. So you do have to kind of be careful with your time and how you manage, because you look ahead and you get yourself beat on Friday.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you joining us, getting on this. And I know we're three Wichita Falls guys, but our guy there, Nolan Clark, has really branched out. I tell him all the time that he's covering every team in North Texas and then some of South Africa as well. And so he gets out there. But Coach, we really do appreciate you jumping on, taking the time after a win tonight. And man, I really hope we can get you back on later this year, this season. I think you're going to have plenty more to talk about with us.
Hey, this is your official invite to Paradise, Texas. So come on anytime you want.
All right, hey, I'm gonna take that, man. I've always wanted to go to Paradise, and I do have to admit, anytime I've written Paradise in the for the paper, always, man, every time the song "Almost Paradise" pops into my head,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it may have been a few times in the newsroom where I actually started singing it. So,
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
avoid it right now, though. So,
Yeah.
but Coach, Coach, thanks again. Appreciate you joining us, and yeah, we'll see you down the road for sure.
Yes, sir. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was Coach Cook from Paradise, and again, big win for them. And again, that district really does. It shapes up to be so difficult and so good. But you two think you might have seen that district championship last week whenever they pulled one out against Vernon.
I'll say this. I think there's three teams that are separated from the other four, and I think that's Paradise, Peaster, and Vernon. I think I haven't seen Paradise yet, or Peaster yet. I'm anxious to see how Peaster stacks up. I think they get Paradise here pretty soon, and then they'll play Vernon that last week of the regular season. Last year, that decided second, third. Vernon dropped to third because Peaster won that game. So I don't want to discredit Peaster because they've had a really good schedule. I believe they're undefeated, but I think there's now a gap. Vernon beating Ponder like they did, and Peaster winning those first two district games like they have. I think there's kind of a gap between those three, and so we might have seen the district title last week in Vernon.
What I'll say about that district again, we've talked about that previously on the stream too. But the teams that we thought may be out of it and may not be in that playoff conversation, and let's just be honest, Boyd, Iowa Park, Bowie, they've all been better than we thought they would be this year. Now, Iowa Park's going through some injury situations, and man, it's tough. The guys that they just lost recently to injury, but I mean, I think Peaster, and I've been writing it for a couple of weeks now. I think Peaster's a top 10 team in the state in 381. I do get to pay. I do pay a lot of attention to the state and the rankings and stuff like that, just because I type them in on a weekly basis for all of Gannett properties, and so I look at that stuff and really kind of I'm very critical of the top 10 rankings of those state rankings because I have my own opinion on them, but I think Peaster absolutely deserves to be in there. We're going to move on now because we need to get to our get to District 6-2A Division 2. We saw those results again tonight, and the game of the week. And Nolan, you already touched on it. Your game of the week, Petrolia and Electra, and Petrolia pulling away late to win that one. But the other results in that district saw an absolute shootout in between Haskell and Seymour. I'm not sure if that game's ended or if somebody just scored again. But it seemed like it was never going to. Lights go out late in that game too, and to add to the longevity of that game, the length of that game.
Yeah, Seymour lost 56-42, and I posted my kind of week 6 preview today, this afternoon, and I kind of like a game to kind of keep an eye on. I thought was Haskell Seymour. On paper, we didn't have a lot of close games this week. I felt like, and that showed up tonight. We had a lot of blowouts, but I felt like Haskell Seymour could be kind of interesting.
Zach, you're cutting out real bad, so I'm gonna let you.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost Zach Duncan there. I had a feeling that was about to happen. He dropped out, but we'll get him back in here momentarily. I think all of us might be having connection issues here with the stream today, but hopefully we can get all of that straightened out a little bit. But yeah, he was talking about Seymour. That was an absolute just shootout back and forth. Um, I see your comments. I see people's comments that we're cutting out every which way. I think we got some problems here with the host and stuff. So we're going to do our best to keep this going and try to talk. But Zach, you were saying that yeah, you were cutting out that entire time. You were talking about Seymour.
I just thought that could have been an interesting game. I thought Seymour would be able to score, and Haskell, obviously, I felt like I thought that was a shootout type game, and it sounded like it was 56-42, Haskell with the win. Also, I knew Windsorf would beat Monday, but it was 76-6, and Blake Bell.
You
So
muted yourself.
Jeez,
I'm here.
Blake. So yeah, Haskell won in a shootout. That was pretty crazy. Also, Blake Brock Belcher with 7 touchdown passes again, setting a school record. 22 of 28 for 296 yards and 7 touchdowns. So that's 14 TD passes in the last 2 games. Last time I checked, that's not too shabby. But yeah, I think they were up something like 60-6 at halftime. So very impressed by Windthorst doing what they did to Monday.
Yeah, another district I kind of want to.
Well, we're going to bring in Coach Blasingame now here after that.
There he is.
So hey, Coach Blasingame joining us here on the McCauley Landscapes Coaches Hotline. Coach, I'm not sure which of us is cutting out. I'm seeing some that it's me. I'm seeing some that it's Zach, but I hope you can hear us okay.
Yeah, it's a little in and out.
Coach, congrats on the win tonight. Yeah, first off, your thoughts on
Say that again.
Your thoughts on the game tonight, how it went?
Oh, well, it was a good one. We knew it would be a very physical game, just two somewhat similar styles of offense, and so
we might have lost Coach.
I got him on my end.
I'm still here.
We got you, Coach. Keep talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we knew it'd be a physical game, just two kind of similar styles of offense. I know we tried our best to hit to get you the under on the 6.5 passing attempts, and so it took us a little while to figure out their approach to stopping us offensively, and Coach Wynn did a fantastic job of making offensive adjustments at halftime, and we had to fix a few things defensively at halftime too, and I think once we got those figured out, we started playing our brand of football and wore them down a little bit, and worked out for us.
Last year at this time, you were 0-2 going into your bye week, and probably felt I believe you'd already had a quarterback injury. You went to Electra, and that wasn't a very close game. And you kind of a totally different vibe now. Now we're 2-0. We feel really good. You were able to rebound from that 0-2, but just talk about the difference a year can make going into a bye week like y'all are.
You still there? Sorry, I think I lost my sound here.
Okay. Yeah, we were just talking about the difference going into the bye week 2-0. Last year, y'all were 0-2.
Can you hear us, Coach?
Anyways, yeah. So Petrolia 2-0 going into the bike week. We've had like 3 or 4 weeks of no technical difficulties, so it makes sense that we have them all tonight. But Coach, can you hear us?
All right, we'll let him join back in here in a moment, and I think I've straightened out mine as well. And yeah, that was a fun little process there. Hey, that's the deal. Hey, we're doing this live. We're trying to do something that yeah, really nobody else is bringing it like this. We're bringing it live, so we're gonna have these problems sometimes. We're hoping they're ironed out now, and we'll get Coach Blasingame back down here in a moment. But that's a huge win. Petrolia's really kind of established themselves as. Hold on, I'm going to try to get Coach back in here right now. Coach Blasingame, you able to hear us right now?
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I got you.
All right. Well,
We
get
we
out.
we, we
Go ahead, Zach.
we were talking about how last year 0-2 going into this bye week, and now 2-0 going into the bye week. It's a totally different feeling, totally different mindset for y'all this year, huh?
Oh yeah. I'll take 2-0 going into bye than 0-2 every single time. Every time.
Yeah, Coach, you kind of touched on it a little bit. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I felt like Electra did a really good job at limiting the explosive plays that we've seen from Case and Gee and Brody Jackson all year long. Obviously, you probably can't get into the details of what exact adjustments y'all made, but what were some of the key points into coming out in the second half and finally seeing those big runs and lighting up the scoreboard a little bit?
Yeah, they did Coach Jackson over there at Electra did a fantastic job of matching up his athletes to our athletes, and so our we made a few tweaks here and there, made a few adjustments, but from the get go, even before the game, it was hey, it may be close for a little while, but we're used to this style of play, and we're going to wear them down, and those 3 or 4 yard gains will start becoming 10, 15-yard gains. And I think that's kind of what we saw at the end tonight.
What do you do this weekend now that you are on a bye? I know every coach does things differently with their bye. I mean, are you going anywhere, taking the wife out tomorrow night? What's your bye weekend routine?
Yeah. We'll so tomorrow, last time we were on here, we talked about the Longhorns a little bit. Me and Coach Tucker, we're gonna go check out Cosm in Dallas. Go watch the Longhorn game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and see how I've never been there, so I'm pretty fired up about it. And huge shout out to my wife for allowing me to go to that. So, and then Sunday will be full of pitching lessons and volleyball practice and all that stuff. But hanging out with the family and catching up on that, definitely a priority this weekend. So.
I actually saw Tucker tonight at halftime in the Memorial game, and he was hoping y'all would pull out a victory just because he wanted you to be in a good mood for this weekend.
Yeah.
He said he didn't want to deal with a grumpy Coach Blaston game on the trip down. So
nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody.
Coach, I'm jealous. I've never been to Cosm either. I'm going to
I
be
haven't either.
texting
It's
you.
my first time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be texting me like, man, how is this? What is this like? I'm jealous. I want to see that stuff.
Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm excited.
Going off script, how do you think the Longhorns are going to fare in the Swamp tomorrow?
Oh man, well, it depends on which Arch Manning we're going to get. if we get a good Arch Manning, I think we can win by a couple touchdowns. If it's a bad Arch Manning, it might be a long day in the Swamp.
Yeah, it's the same way on the other side with DJ Lagway. I mean, obviously we've heard Napier and he's on the hot seat, so it's going to be a big game for each quarterback tomorrow.
Coach, we get back to Petrolia real quick. Just like Zach said, standing there 2-0, you're looking like our that threat to Windthorst. And we had Coach Tackett on this thing last week, and I brought it up. I think we look so much at like, hey, it's a foregone conclusion, like Windthorst is going to win that district, but it gets lost that you guys really played them tough last year. I mean, that was a tight game. What was it, 26-20, I think was the final. I mean,
Yeah.
how are your guys? I mean, I think the biggest thing to say here, what is the confidence level like for your players right now as you're moving into the bye week and then getting back into the last couple of games of district?
It's high. I mean, they're very confident, but you would never know. They do a good job of going into each game. They're never overconfident, but they think that we can play with whoever we line up against, and that's a good thing. And so that goes a long ways, and they've proved it so far. So, last year we played Windthorst close. We took the lead with like a minute and a half left, and then ended up kicking it out of bounds 3 times, and so they started with it on the 50 or the 45, whatever it was. And so that gives them even more confidence that we can compete for a district championship, and we buy in a little more each week, and it's paying off. So
Thoughts on Brock Belcher throwing 14 TD passes and like 12 incompletions in 2 games.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
that's
don't.
been done before.
Yeah, he's thrown more touchdown passes than we have pass attempts. So uh, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that information.
That's a good. Jonathan's always looking for a good over under next week,
That's
or
right.
a couple
Yeah,
weeks from now. Like more Petrolia passes or Brock Belcher touchdowns. Might
Yeah,
be a
there
pretty
you
close
go.
one.
And, yeah, he's a great athlete, and they work their tails off over there and earn every bit of success. We talk about them being the district favorites all the time. Well, I mean, they earn it. I mean, they win the district almost every time. So we're working on building our program too, and trying to compete with everybody that we can. So
yeah. I'm gonna have to get it confirmed from your stats later on, but these guys put an over under on the pass attempts in tonight's game at 6.5. I took the under, and Nolan feels like it went over. He says you guys threw it about 5 times, so
yeah, I
I
think
mainly
I want to say we threw it 3, and I think
okay.
they might have. Don't blame me. You call Coach Ritchie. Well, that's my opinion. I think Coach Ritchie might have thrown it 4 or 5 times. He might have got you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, yes. As I said earlier, I mean the prize picks didn't come through on that one, and uh, we'll have to see if I can get the refund. So,
Yeah.
well,
I
good deal,
thought
Coach. Well, enjoy your weekend, Coach. Have fun down in Cosmo. I'm gonna be bugging you again. I want to know what that's like. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I'll send
hey,
you some videos, man.
yeah, do so. But hey, enjoy your weekend and congrats on the win. And I mean, get through this bye week, get healthier, and get back at it. I'm sure we guys, hopefully, we do. We got something to talk about again here in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm in. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
All right. Yes, sir. Thanks. That's Coach Brad Blasingame from Petrolia on the Macaulay Landscapes hotline. Real quick, let me touch on our sponsors real quick. Macaulay Landscapes, that's one of them. You just heard them on there. Let me add the stage. There we go. Visit MacaulayLandscapes.com to learn about their full range of services. Macaulay Landscapes making Wichita Falls look its best since 2003. And then our main sponsor, Arrowhead Roofing, been here around for 25 years. They're the exterior experts. Anything outside, roofing, siding, gutters, windows. You need a window done, get the window taken care of from them too. Uh, count on them when storms hit. It's time for an upgrade. Called Arrowhead Roofing. Rance Hogue owns that company and it built it from the ground up. Great man. And yeah. Sorry, guys, I'm struggling here.
So a
It,
couple. I'm going to talk about a couple 6-man scores, and I'm going to let Nolan talk about some of his area. A couple 6-man scores that surprised. We have a lot of 6-man games. They're not on buys yet. Benjamin killed Cherokee. That was supposed to be a decent game. I think
yeah.
Battle of Unbeaten's is 68-6 is over at half. Perrin Witt also. I think that was supposed to be a game we thought might be a toss up. Perrin Witt beat St. Joe pretty badly too. So St. Joe's not from the unbeaten. So's Chillicothe. Benjamin's still unbeaten. Northside won last night in a crazy game over Goldberg, it sounded like. Um, and I saw, so those are kind of some 6-man scores, but I saw a score that caught my eye in Nolan's thing. Tioga lost to Tom Bean. I thought Tioga was one of those district favorites. So that to me was a score that caught my eye off your way, Nolan. What are a couple other scores that caught your eye in the 940 world?
yeah, a couple schools I covered that Jonathan might say they're out in South Africa, but Pilot Point with the big win tonight over fifth ranked Palmer. They went on the road. I thought about going to that game until I looked up where Palmer was, and it was way too far of a drive. It's like over
It
three
is out
hours.
there. Yeah, I
Yes.
remember they played neutrally. They played Holiday and Mineral Wells. So if you're playing in neutral Mineral Wells, you're not close. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If that game was in Pilot Point, I'm pretty sure that's probably where I would have ventured off to tonight. But yeah, big win for the Bearcats, 44-28, I believe was the final score over Palmer, probably knocking them out of the top 10. Another one in 4A Division II. Crum and Sanger both staying unbeaten in district play. Crum's unbeaten overall. Sanger's only loss is to Gunner so far this year. Crum and Sanger meet in 2 weeks. Crum is off next week. So that is a big matchup that's really brewing. That's probably going to be locked in for me to go to in 2 weeks to go see that Denton County showdown. Childress took down 10th ranked Stratford tonight on the road as well. And then I was just seeing the comments. Throckmorton got their first win in, I think, 2 years tonight over Kroll, 41-14.
Yeah, and that's a game that's just it feels weird. They were both winless going in. Usually, I mean, I covered both those teams winning multiple state titles. Usually, you feel like that's a 4-0 versus 4-0 game, and it's weird that I think it was 0-4, 0-4, 0-5, 0-5, whatever. But congrats to Throckmorton. I know they had a kind of a rough year, didn't finish last year, so that was good for them. Um, is it too early to talk about next week? I feel like this week was just a weird week with a lot of teams off.
Mm-hmm.
We had so many teams off on buys, but next week we get to some really interesting district matchups. I guess I don't know if it's too early to talk about that or not, but
No, I don't think it's too early. Before we do, though, I think we can touch a little bit around the region. There's some big games in the region. I I thought looking at you mentioned earlier Amarillo High and Abilene High going at it. The Abilene High won that one 24-21. That was a big game out there for that district, that 5A D1 district. And then I think one of the ones that grabbed the most attention statewide was Aledo and Denton Ryan. And Aledo wins that one 15-14, holding that one off. So yeah, that's a huge result as well.
Stephenville went to Longview, and I think they beat that stud Louisiana team that has a ton of D1 recruits every year. So I didn't see a final score on that, but I believe Stephenville won that one. So that's a big win. A game we haven't even mentioned tonight that we should have involving 2-5A. I believe Abilene Wiley with a 29-22 win over Abilene Cooper. That's we talk about the Paladuro win, but that's a huge win for that game, win for that district for Wiley, setting up a Wiley Paladuro game next week. That is a pretty big one.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, I
getting
didn't
to
do
it
a
now.
very
I
good.
mean, go ahead, Nolan.
I'm just going to say I'm not much input into this because I didn't do a very good job looking at scores around the region tonight. So
Hey, you have like 100 scores you're typing in anyway, man. We forgive you. Uh, I get all my scores just like the rest of you. I know you're all getting scores from Nolan Clark and 940 Game Day, but uh, moving forward, yeah, let's look at next week. I don't think it's too early because we just didn't have a lot going on this week. And again, I apologize. I'm just a little bit under the weather and haven't been on my A game tonight. I feel bad just about how the stream's been, but yeah, where are you guys looking to go next week?
I think I'll be at Jacksboro City View. It's hard for me to think that game's going to be as good as last year, but I think it could be a really good game. I was talking to a couple coaches this week that said like, "Hey, Jacksboro's a lot better than their 1-4 record. They can make that game. One team's 1-4, one's 4-1, but they think that game should be pretty good. So I'm anxious to see Jacksboro. I know they've had some injury problems, but they've played a tough schedule and they've played hard all those games. No shame in a loss to Peaster and a loss to Jim Ned, a loss to Eagle Mountain, which is a really good 4A team playing with 5A numbers. And so I think that's where I'm going to be.
yeah, for me next week is it pronounce it Kraut Bowl? Kraut Bowl? I don't.
Kraut Bowl.
Kraut Bowl. Yeah, Lindsay and Munster. Lindsay's number 9, Munster's number 2. Both of them were on a bye week, so I imagine they'll both still be ranked next week. More than likely going to make a trip back out to Munster to see that state ranked showdown. Never seen Lindsay before, so that's what I'm excited to get. Look about some other 11-man games. I'm kind of looking around on the list. You have a battle of unbeaten to district play. It's the Archer County showdown between the Wildcats and Trojans.
Yeah, and then listen, that's always that it's such. I think it's the best rivalry across all sports in our area and being in Archer City and Windthorst. Listen, it's been a tough year for Archer City, and Windthorst is rolling right now. So I think, yeah, we're heavily favoring Windthorst in that game as we should. But I I don't know, Zach. You can weigh in on it. You're the area guru, but I don't think that there's a better rivalry. Like whenever you figure in all the other sports, all the girls' sports, and volleyball and basketball and softball, baseball. To me, it's just the best rivalry that in this area.
Yeah, and I remember it's been a long, long time ago, right when I started the paper, Archer City won a basketball state title, but Windthorst beat them a couple of times. Windthorst had beaten them. And so they,
Yeah.
they kind of bragged like, okay, they may be the best in the state, but they're not the best in the county. Yeah, I think it's a really good rivalry across all the sports. Sometimes there's down years and down teams and stuff, but volleyball, man, when it was when
Oh yeah.
my coworker Lauren Castles, when they had Castles, and then back in the day Archer and Windthorst was meeting in the regional finals every year. um so I don't know if that game will be necessarily really close, but there's a couple games I'm keeping my eye on that I don't know how good they're going to be, but they're going to be very important. Seymour Electra, we kind of think Electra might be that fourth place team, but if Seymour wants to knock off Electra, and that's kind of a rivalry game too, a little bit. I think if
Yeah.
Seymour can kind of throw their way, they've lost to Windthorst and Haskell, and we think those are really two of the better three teams in that district. So if the last Electra, like the winner of that game, will feel a lot better about the playoffs than I think the loser. Also, Ponderate Bowie, excuse me. Bowie's played two of the toughest teams. They're 0-2 in district. Ponder's coming off like a tough loss. Um, I feel like if you got to win that game if you want to be in the playoffs. If Bowie goes 0-3, it's going to be really tough because they still haven't played Vernon. And then if Ponder drops the game to Bowie, they still have to play Paradise. They still have to play Peaster. And so I feel like the Ponder at Bowie and Seymour Electra games are going to be kind of key games just to see kind of maybe shake it, how those last playoff spots shake out.
I'm interested in I think this can be a sneaky game, and if it's at Holiday, Millsap at Holiday. I think Millsap's they're the kind of that dark horse in that district, right? I mean, they've
They're
got something. They've gotten some impressive wins on their mark too, and so uh, I think that's one Holiday. I mean, you can't take it. I mean, and we say this all the time. You can't take anyone lightly, and I wrote this week is like that's a lie. That's a lie. See, coaches like to say, "Hey, uh, we can't. We got to bring our best every week, or we just can't take anyone for granted." And like that's an absolute lie because teams take other teams for granted all the time, and sometimes they get away with it. But I really do think that this is a team that Holiday cannot look past in Millsap, or else they're going to end up getting beat.
Yeah, I can see that being a pretty interesting game. A couple others, Perrin Witt at Newcastle. I feel like that kind of has a district title maybe on the line, and maybe Northside proves me wrong on that. But Perrin Witt with a big one tonight. Newcastle
Yeah.
played number one Jayton and lost, but no shame in that. So I feel like that kind of has a big game. Also, Plainview at Legacy. Plainview, I believe, was a bye team tonight, and so Legacy gets a game at home in district against a Plainview team coming off its biggest win in a long, long time. And so I'm just kind of interested to see what we have there. Graham goes to Burke. I would think Graham would be the favorite there. Paradise hosts Our Park. I think that's a tough game for Our Park. Boyd at Vernon. Boyd was the off team this week in the district. I just think Vernon's playing at a really high level right now. So I don't. I would be surprised if that was close, but we'll have a lot more games to talk about next week. This is just it's always a weird week 6, but glad we had a few games tonight to talk about.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to put a bow on this thing tonight. I know I definitely need to put a bow on it, and it needs to be wrapped in NyQuil. Uh, but but guys, hey, appreciate everybody joining us. Appreciate our coaches getting in with this Petrolia's Brad Blasting game and Paradise's Tommy Cook getting in here and joining us tonight. That was great having them. I'm personally apologizing to people watching the stream. I was not at my best tonight. Probably should have just taken the night off and let these two guys handle it. They were a lot better than me tonight. So I apologize for me. But hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Appreciate our sponsors. We're gonna let them play on the way out, and we'll see you next week right here on Falls Friday Night.
Tonight's broadcast of Falls Friday Night was brought to you by Arrowhead Roofing. For more than 25 years, Arrowhead Roofing has been Texoma's trusted name for roofing, siding, gutters, and more. When storms hit or it's time for an upgrade, call the team Texoma has relied on since 1999. Arrowhead Roofing, the exterior experts. And Macaulay Landscapes. For 21 years, Macaulay Landscapes has been keeping Wichita Falls beautiful. Visit McCauleyLandscapes.com to learn more about their full range of services. Macaulay Landscapes, making Wichita Falls look its best since 2003. That wraps up another edition of Falls Friday Night. Every score, every story, every Friday.